Hello and welcome to the Idaho Renaissance Faire Inc.'s YouTube page. We have here, as you can see, an amazing guest. We are so excited. Please tell us who you are.
Hello, I am Pearla the mermaid.
Bet you didn't think mermaids were real. And here we go. Pearla has actually been our main mermaid at our Renaissance Faire for the last, 5 years?
4 years.
4 years. So we are super excited that she has blessed us and graced us with her presence. It's January right now. What does a mermaid normally do during January?
Probably the same thing we do the rest of the year. It doesn't make that much of a difference the time of year. Sometimes, though, we will go a little further south. It's a little warmer. But we don't have to. Most of the ocean's pretty darn cold.
Cold as in a human standard or cold even for you?
Cold for a human standard mostly. We do pretty well in the cold. But once you start, floating around the icebergs, it gets cold even for us.
Gotcha. So if we were to guess, would it be appropriate to call it your native waters, kind of like how humans have native homes, like some hail from England, some hail from America? Do you have native waters that you grew up in or that you are currently living in?
Yes, actually, we mostly stay in our own bodies of water. We can travel all the time, and we love to. But we mostly stay in our own bodies of water just because it's home, it's what we're used to, and we are colored to blend in with our own home. And so if we go somewhere where the wildlife or the ocean itself is a different color, then we stand out and we have more of a likelihood of being seen, which is not the goal. So we tend to be in our own ocean or sea as much as we can.
So you say ocean or sea. Are there freshwater mermaids?
There are. There are river mermaids and there are lake mermaids. Not really pond mermaids. It's just not big enough. Lakes are usually big enough that you don't have to go anywhere, and rivers, you can just travel all over the place. But they tend to be a lot smaller, and they just don't get quite as big as their saltwater cousins.
So it's kind of like, no offense, kind of like a whale. How bigger whales have to be in bigger oceans because there's more mass to support.
Yes, and I'm still a very young mermaid. I'm still almost human-sized, but once they start getting older, they're about the size of whales. So if they were to age and be in a smaller body of water, people would definitely find them.
So, again, human females have issues with ages. Are you comfortable telling us how old you are?
Comfortable, yes. Able to, no.
Really?
I don't know how humans track ages. How do humans track ages?
Every revolution around the sun. So about 365 days is a year.
I don't know. I don't keep track of things like that. We keep track of things by storms or by current shifts. We don't really pay attention to the sun very much, except that if the sun is up and we're outside, then we might get a little dry.
That's fair. Speaking of dry, before we get back to the age thing, because I'm not going to let that one go. I'm sorry. It's a question we want to know.
Oh, okay.
But you're not exactly in water right now. How is it you have a tail?
We always have tails. The only time we wouldn't have a tail is if we had a spell or a curse cast on us. A tail is a tail. I've heard that humans don't lose their legs, not for anything. So it's very similar in quality. Like if a human were to go swimming, I've seen them do it. And they don't grow tails. So I don't see why me being on land would mean I have to have legs. That's just silly.
Well, how did you get here? Because obviously we're in a building.
Yes. There's walls and ceilings and stuff. These
Which,
humans
again,
have been
we're
telling me all
super
about.
Appreciative that you're here. We know it's not comfortable, but we love that you're here. We're just, how? How are you here?
I usually have people carry me.
Oh,
Humans
that
are
explains.
very accommodating.
Well, that explains the entourage outside. Like that.
Yes.
Are they fans? Are they concubines? Like, 'cause I would
Usually-
imagine you have a big gathering of people who just want to.
I do have quite a few fans, it's true, but usually they're of the little two-legger variety and can't help with the carrying so much. But the taller and more gentlemanly ones are pretty good at carrying me around, and usually it's pirates that catch me and then say, oh, well, you can sing for your supper. And it works.
Now, be honest, how many times have you been captured on purpose compared to captured on accident?
Well, several years ago, I discovered these wonderful things. You may have heard of them. Several years ago. As humans reckon time, or at least that's what my human pirates have said. It's been several years. They showed me this really cool thing, and you might have heard of them as humans. And they're small and they're made out of trees, and they have ink in them, like squid ink sometimes. They're called books. Books.
Yes.
Books don't do well in water.
No.
So when I want to read them or have someone read them to me, because I really appreciate it when they do that, I get captured completely on accident, of course.
Oh, of course, yes.
And then I get to read for a while, and they read to me, and it's very, very fun.
So how do you get them to let you go? Are they just usually nice enough to, or do you eat them?
Eat them? Why on earth would I eat them?
We've heard some legends of mermaids where they
I'm
lure
a
sailors to
vegetarian. My goodness.
Fish don't count as a vegetable.
I don't eat fish.
Oh, fair enough.
I eat kelp. There are many kinds of seaweeds out there, and they are delicious. That is what I eat. I do not eat meat.
Do any mermaids eat meat?
Well, I can't speak for other people.
That's fair. That is fair. That is fair. I will avoid generalization questions, and we will just focus on you, because you're here.
Yes, I am.
So you accidentally get caught for
Yes.
literature purposes.
Yes.
What genre is a mermaid's favorite genre, or is your favorite genre? Sorry.
What's a genre?
Fantasy, fiction, science fiction,
Oh.
romance.
Types of books. Okay.
Yes. Mysteries, murder, horror.
I like to learn about people. So I mostly like to learn about, I like mysteries because they tell me how humans' brains work, which that's a mystery to me. And I like fantasy because I think it's funny what they think about fantastical creatures. It's just hilarious.
Is that because you know so many of them?
Yes.
Or, what's the one that we may have most wrong? So like you said, not all mermaids necessarily will eat people, regardless of what the legend says, especially not you. That's obviously wrong.
I would say, of the things I know the best, the things that humans get the most wrong is sirens. I get called a siren more often than you would think, and I look nothing like one. Did you know that sirens are birds?
Are you,
They're birds.
but they sing and attract men to their
Yes,
doom?
they have human heads. But
Is that
they're
not
actually...
a harpy?
Oh, the harpies are completely different.
Okay.
But yes, sirens, as depicted in Greek stuff, are birds. And so when someone calls me a siren, I'm like, what the I really don't. I get very confused, and then they explain that sirens eat people. I'm like, I know that part, but
Oh, so we're right on that part.
yes,
Oh, fair enough.
They sing, they lure people in, they like to make ships crash on the shore, they eat people. They're quite vicious. I don't like them at all. But I am not one, and I don't even look like one. That's kind of rude. It's kind of rude to say that someone with a tail looks like some like scraggly thing with wings. Very, very offensive to be confused with.
It's good to know though, because I was under the wrong impression. Obviously,
Yes.
I was thinking harpy.
Well, harpies are a part bird too, but they're shaped different.
So back to the age thing. So
Okay.
you have a concept of years.
Yeah, humans
What
talk
is
to me
one
about
of your
it.
earliest interactions with humans that you have? Is it? Can you describe what they wore? Maybe were they on a boat? Because that would give us an opportunity to kind of do our own guess for your age, quote, end quote.
Well, it's very tricky because time for you people seems to go in a very like straightforward way. And it doesn't really work like that for us because the ocean is timeless, and I can go to the Renaissance, or I can go to presidential elections in the U.S. It doesn't really matter. I can do one from at any given moment. But I think the earliest for humans that I can recall would be I was in a river, and they had very they weren't very big boats, and there were lots of people rowing them. It was very annoying trying to keep out of the way of all those oars. I'm not really good in brackish water anyways, and there were a lot of crocodiles. It was not a fun time, but most of the people were wearing white, and when they were dressing up fancy, they would wear like animal heads. Couldn't tell you which ones because I really don't know land animals very well. Most of them were land animals, though. One of them was a crocodile head, though. I recognize that one because those things are annoying.
You are describing Egypt. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow. That may have been a day or two ago. I mean, if they were dressing
Yes.
up in that way, I will let the viewers decide what age that would put you at. Though I do have to ask, if you can travel through water and water is timeless, have you seen a dinosaur?
What's a dinosaur?
Okay, that answers that question.
Well, I don't know what you call things.
Dinosaurs generally are depicted as land walking alligators, basically. 2 to 4 legs. About the big ones were 10 to 20 feet tall, roughly. There were a couple that fished. They had a big frill on the back, and they had big claws and big teeth, and they were considerably big.
There's lots of things with big claws and big teeth. That doesn't narrow it down. Where they...
We're at an impasse. Okay, hold on. Here's one you would know.
Okay.
The megalodon, giant shark.
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay, so you've met one of them.
Met? No. Hid from? Yes.
Okay.
You don't want to meet those. They eat you.
Well, some things never change.
Yes.
Well, so there you go.
Time just doesn't work in water. That's just how it is. If you've ever been in the water, I've heard humans have a really hard time holding their breath. And once they go in the water, how they measure time changes really fast.
That is valid. I have heard survivors' things, and yeah, it seems that time stretches a lot when you don't have oxygen.
Yes. I hear oxygen is very important for humans, and they get really scared without it.
It is true. So how about family?
Oh, yes.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
No idea.
Too many to count?
Yes.
Okay. Then are you joined? Are you married to another?
To a merman? No, I'm not. I was at one point. Some of us are pretty immortal and some of us aren't, and even immortal things can be eaten, sadly. And so my husband from many long time ago, can't find him anymore.
And we're assuming he got eaten then.
Yeah. Not sure by what, just,
Was he a very intelligent merman?
I don't know that there are such things. Just I don't know that there are intelligent mermen.
Well, the worlds aren't so different after all. As a married man, I have been called not smart many times, so I feel like I can relate to the past husband.
Well, I have to say, the human men tend to do a little better with this whole reading thing and the books thing. I like spending time with them because they actually, know things and remember stuff.
King Triton, is he real?
I've never met him, but I've heard about him, so maybe.
How about, have you had children yourself?
Yes.
Do you know how many?
I was there.
But you don't know how many brothers and sisters you have.
Well, I wasn't there when they were all born.
That's valid.
And most of them have, if they were born before me, they may not be around, and people might talk to me about them a little bit, but I wasn't raised with them, and I wasn't raised with my younger siblings either. We were mostly on our own by the time we were 10 or 11 in storm cycles. I don't know how that works for human years, but storm cycles, the big ones, the really big ones. I think humans call them...
Hurricane?
Maybe that's it. I was going to say something that starts with a T, but...
Typhoon.
Typhoon! Yes. That's a really good way of tracking time.
See, I'll need a smarter person. If anyone knows the cycles of typhoons, definitely comment so that we can know, because that's above my pay grade. I don't know that one. So how many children have you had?
3.
Are you planning on having more?
If I find another merman that is suitable.
How long have you been looking? How many cycles have you been, or do you even look?
I don't.
That's fair. Well, you're immortal, so it's not like you have a time.
We'll meet when we meet, and yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming. If we have questions from viewers, would you be willing to come back and answer some more questions?
Of course. This has been a lot of fun. And, there's rivers close by. It's not a long carry for people. It's okay. Of course, I don't have to do it, so.
We really appreciate you coming in and just taking some time and spending it with us and answering some basic questions. There are so many more, but we like to keep our videos kind of within a manageable time frame because not everyone has an hour to spend. So I do believe that unless there's a specific message you have that you would like to get out right now.
Swim safe.
Swim safe. Then thank you very much for coming on in. And for the viewers, please mention in the comments some questions that you might have. Let's see if we can't get our lovely guest back so that we can get all of those questions answered at a later date. This here has been the Idaho Renaissance Faire, Inc. We hope your history is as exciting as our history, and we will catch you on the next one. Huzzah!